So I'm Zach Ferguson. I am the senior warden at Calvary Episcopal downtown Memphis. And I also at the diocesan level have been on the diocesan leadership initiative. And now we're in the second phase of that project called the Diocesan Vitality Initiative. I'm also a deputy for General Convention 2024. The idea of the priesthood of all believers to me kind of really stood out. The idea of we all play a part in this. And we hear so much that we see the priest every Sunday or the deacons or the bishop. And that's who we kind of go to is that's our leader. But I think finding how we bring our gifts to our parishes, to our community is important for me. And so the idea that everything that I do in my professional life is part of the gifts and graces that I've been given. And how do I use that then in my faith journey? And so for me, it's kind of the idea that we all have those things. We all have careers, we all have passions, and that all can be used not just in the secular world, but also in how we participate in our own parish life. And so for me, it's been finding things that I'm passionate about, whether it be working with the youth group, or standing for vestry election, or standing for election to General Convention, but things that will better my community of faith at Calvary, but also in the diocese and in the denomination, but I think also how it reflects in the world around us. The priests and the deacons and the bishops can't do it all, and that we have a role to play in that, whether it's with our presence, with our witness, with our gifts, with our service. So I think for me, it's been finding ways that I can connect at a deeper level of my faith that's not just sitting in a pew on Sunday morning. The staff, the clergy can't do it all. And in my mind, that's kind of the beauty of the role that we live in as lay people, right? That we have the ability to say and do things that the clergy and staff can't do, right? So I think that there's times when I can be bolder in my call for action or faith than paid staff or clergy, and that's true, I think, in any profession, right? Not just the church. And so for me, I think it's this place that we get to decide how deep we go into the journey, which I think is also nice that we're over-programmed. Everybody, my friends with kids, my friends that are single as well, every day, there's 10 million things we can do, and the church kind of is there, and we have to make a conscious effort to make it a part of our life. And the same is true with our time. There's only so much. And so for me, it's been we get to decide in that in-between between the staff and clergy and lay people, filling that gap of how much I can give and which graces and gifts I can. Recently, one of the things that kind of came to me of the church in general is we sometimes forget we all have stories, and these stories are intertwined together. And being in a leadership role in a church or getting involved only deepens that connection of our stories and how they intersect and how those stories may shape us as we move forward. One of the things that I am most proud of in my role in leadership of the vestry, last year's junior warden, this year's senior warden, was the creation of youth reps to vestry. Because I think one of the things that we forget about, we keep hearing conversations about lay leadership and how we get lay people involved, but I think we sometimes leave out that children and youth are great possibilities for growing leaders for the future, but also using their skill sets and their gifts to be leaders today. And so I think that's something that the churches have the option to think about, is how are you engaging all people? That the lay leadership is not just going to be the same people that have always done it, but looking to find people that may not be engaged fully, or you may see gifts and graces in other people that the parish and the community of faith would benefit from tapping into. So for me, it's how are we also making sure that table, the people who are at that table, looks more like the kingdom of God and less like what I see in the mirror.